Hi friends, welcome back to Boba and Friends. I'm Kat.
And I'm Fifi.
And today we're coming at you with a Halloween edition.
Spooky.
So she's the Mad Hatter. Show them your hat. Ooh. We'll include mod shots somewhere in here. And I'm the Queen of Hearts, of course.
This is today's meal. It is Korean army stew. It's almost like a hot pot, which we really love.
Yeah.
And over here. So what we have in here is like noodles, Indomie noodles, of course. That's our favorite. And then
They should sponsor us, I swear.
Spam. I know some people don't like Spam, but it's delicious. And it's quite popular in Korea. I'm not sure about the other Asian countries, but it's super popular in Korea. And then hot pot beef. And then also, if I can get it, the fish ball. My chopstick skills are not on point. Here's a fish ball. And then I think lastly we have enoki mushrooms, which looks like the Indomie noodles.
Yeah, they blend.
But they're mushrooms, yeah.
Oh, and these are little Halloween things. They're spiders. We thought these were super cute.
And then also pumpkin napkins.
Yeah, we gotta point these out because these were $3 at Target. And I remember I was like, what the hell? These are $1 at Walmart.
Yeah, she saw
they're crappier, but I was like, return them.
No.
She wouldn't return
We're not wasting gas money just to return those.
True. Okay, and we also have some instant boba that we made. I'll include a picture of the package of what it is. It's actually not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty decent for instant boba.
It's brown sugar milk tea flavor. It's pretty good.
And I got the Alice cup from Disney.
She's the full Mad Hatter. I'm gonna start eating because we're hungry. All we've had is coffee. I got a Keurig, y'all, and I don't know how to act anymore. She's like, I don't need sleep, I have a Keurig.
And it's one of those fancy ones with like a frother.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's like, okay, next level.
Oh. Okay, now 20 minutes of us eating. Ooh. I grabbed my fork today because there's just no playing around, and I see you're not playing around either.
Look, I'm starving.
Oh, but there's cheese in this, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's
I guess it's not as obvious. There's kimchi and cheese in here.
Yeah, I forgot the kimchi too. And the sauce is made from gochujang, the Korean like chili paste.
Soy sauce, mirin, which is Asian cooking wine, and what else? Oh, garlic, heavy garlic. We love our garlic. Oh, it's sugar. It's got sugar in it. We're really hungry. It's like, what, we're filming this at almost 2 p.m.
And all we've had was coffee.
I know. Oh boy. Okay, first taste.
You want some soup?
I'm not even concerned right now.
Okay.
That beef is so good. It's fatty beef, so it's extra delicious. This is called Korean Army Stew because I think it was created in a Korean army base where they basically threw in all the ingredients they had and created something delicious. It's amazing.
We did lose less gochujang. Somebody can't handle their spice.
It's me. You can also add chili flakes if you like it spicy.
We'll probably be eating this more as winter comes.
Right? It's amazing comfort food. Oh, that's our cat. His name is Wop. He's Halloween edition. He's here for the Halloween only.
Unfortunately, I did forget Hannibal.
Oh, Oh yeah.
I'm a bad mother.
That's the Boba's name now. It's Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite part of the army stew?
I think it's the hot pot beef. It's delicious. Yeah. Second are noodles.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I agree. Sometimes the Spam, it depends. Sometimes I don't like the Spam if it ends up too hard. But when it's nice and soft, oh, it's so good.
So, we're doing something a little different this time. Instead of like talking about true crime, we're gonna kind of go over a horror movie. Kind of like go over the plot and then give our thoughts about it.
We're just gonna talk about it, have a little chatty time.
It's gonna be more casual for this one. And the movie we're talking about is Silence of the Lambs.
We should have put lamb in the pot, but I don't actually
Yeah,
like
she doesn't like lamb
that much.
She likes goat, but not lamb.
Yeah, I'm a weird one. So this movie is actually kind of a classic, right? Because it came out in 1990, I believe.
Yeah, in the 1990s.
Yeah, makes me feel young. But so the movie starts out. It's set out in Virginia, and it opens up, and you're watching this girl run through the woods. Who's Jodie Foster. You later find out she's Clarice, FBI agent, super badass. She was training in FBI woods because her first thought was, why is she in the woods? It's not safe.
Yeah, that was our first thought. We've become more paranoid after listening to so much crime podcasts. They were just like, what are you doing alone in the woods?
There's danger everywhere.
But it turned out it was just a huge FBI training grounds.
So some guy comes over and calls her and tells her, hey, they need you. Jack needs you, who I think is the head honcho. So she gets off her trail, and you can tell immediately the tone is set when she's walking through the hallways to get to the guy's office. There's just men everywhere, a bunch of dudes.
And they're all just giving kind of her a look. Especially when she walked into the elevator, and it's like all men.
And just her.
So you kind of get the idea of the time period they're in the situation.
This is not bad. Not bad at all.
How much were they?
They're $5 for a pack of like 4 or 5. It's not bad.
And all you do is add heated milk, right?
No, you just heat up the boba packet and then you just add cold milk and ice. So she comes into Jack's office and he's not there, so she starts looking around, you know, taking a little look-see look. And so you start to see a bunch of clippings about Buffalo Bill, which is was he a mass murder? No, not mass murder. Serial killer. He's a serial killer.
Yeah. So you see like the typical in Hollywood movies, like the giant whiteboard with the strings connecting to pictures of the
newspaper clippings and stuff.
So she's just kind of like reading into it, and it zooms in, giving the audience like
an idea of what he does, like
of who the murderer is. So he kind of like he's killed. It's all women. He's killed, and he also skins them after killing them. So you kind of get an idea of what kind of sicko he is.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Yeah.
So she's looking at that very intently. Of course, that's when Jack's gonna come in. And he asks, you know, is like, oh, you know, you're a good student. Because she's still a student in the FBI Academy. At this point, we find that out.
Yeah,
she's not an agent yet. Yeah.
And she's like top of her class. I think she double majored in like social behavior and then something else.
She's got, I think, psychology of some sort. So he tells her he has a special assignment for her, and he wants to send her to a is it a psychiatric ward?
I thought it was just an asylum.
It's like an asylum meets maximum security prison for high risk individuals. So Jack wants Clarice to go out and interview some of the killers that are in the jail, in particular one, which is Dr. Hannibal Lecter, because he refuses to speak to anybody and he's not cooperating.
The reason they want her to speak to him, well, they've been trying to get him to talk, is that he knows Billy, and they want to get an inside, like, try and get more information on Billy the murderer.
Do they know that he knows him at this point?
Do they?
I don't know. I think they just want his insight and like psychological
I guess
profile.
like one serial killer might know more about another serial killer. Yeah, I guess that's the mentality.
Kindred souls. So Dr. Hannibal Lecter is actually in the prison because he's a serial killer himself. But not only is he a serial killer, he's also a cannibal.
He would eat all his victims.
So Clarice heads over to the, I'm gonna call it mental institution.
Okay.
I don't, mental institution prison, and she meets Dr. Chilton, who is the head of basically of the whole prison.
He's creepy.
Yeah, right off the
right
bat,
about he's freaking
you know
creepy.
he's a dick. He's a dick. There's just no going around it.
Yeah, he made like some sexist comments about Clarice.
Like, oh, they sent you because you're a pretty girl.
Yeah, he's like, oh, that way, you know, maybe Lecter will actually talk. It's just like right off the bat, creepy vibes.
Clarice had to remind this man that she has a double degree. Typical. So immediately don't like him, and you find out that Hannibal hates him anyways. So he makes a pass at Clarice, and she plays it off and rejects it pretty smoothly.
Like Chilton wanted to go in with her to talk to Hannibal, but she's like, he's not gonna talk if
you're together, if you're seen with me. He also is like, what are you doing tonight? And she's like, I gotta get back to work, sir.
Yeah.
Very polite, but it's like a difficult world she's got to navigate. She's got to be
polite,
stern, yeah, like
also
like polite and stern, and yet still use some of her womanly charm to get ahead in life. It's like delicate balance.
So she's like walking through. They first entrance is like two guards. One of them named Barney, and they're just like getting her ready, telling her the rules, stuff you can't do. Don't go near glass. Don't take anything if he gives you anything, like in the drawer that passes between the person inside the prison and the person outside. So running all down the rules, and then
One thing though, can I mention, Barney is a sweetheart. He's really nice.
He's really
super sweet.
He's like, oh, I set up a chair at the end.
Yeah, you know, he just has like kind vibes.
Yeah. And so Hannibal's cell is actually at the very end of the hall, and so she has to walk past like a few other inmates. And so you see her walking past, they're giving her looks and stuff, and there's this one inmate.
They're going nuts.
Yeah.
They're not just giving her looks.
Yeah, they're crazy.
I'm catcalling her. One guy was like, I can smell your
C word.
Yeah, I'll just leave that to your imagination.
Yeah,
it gets intense real quick. So she finally meets up with Hannibal Lecter. He comes into play, and you see that he's got a bunch of art all around his cell that he's painted, or not painted. He draws. It's actually pretty good stuff.
And it's funny how he's the only one that's the most polite. You know, talking in like a really just a normal human being. You would have never suspected him of murdering anybody. And so they get
the quiet ones.
Right. It's always the charming ones.
True. I guess we're safe. So she introduces herself, and he immediately starts judging her and talking about her cheap shoes. Rude.
Yeah, throughout the movie, he's pretty savage on her shoes, which is kind of funny.
Like, dude.
Yeah, so he just kind of makes immediate judgments on how she's dressed, how she, her shoes and all that, her accent. It was like kind of
West Virginia country.
Yeah.
He said you're trying desperately to shed it.
Mm-hmm. And then, so did she like start like talking like, oh, she's from the FBI. She wants to talk with him, get some information on, was it Billy something?
No, she didn't tell him that right off the bat. She was like, there's a questionnaire, and then he's like, why are you really here? He's like, Jack sent you. And he's like, well, I'm not going to tell you anything, basically, because he's like psychoanalyzed her, and she's said, can you point your psychoanalytical skills back at yourself, or are you too afraid?
Mm-hmm. And that kind of like pissed him off a bit, and he's like, I'm not talking to you anymore. There's nothing else to say. Mm-hmm. And she finally sees that she's not going to get anywhere with him. So she like starts walking back past the inmates again. This is a really disgusting part.
Put my food down.
The inmate who called her the bad word was jerking it.
If you know what we're saying.
And he like throws his hand with the
bodily fluids. And it lands on her cheek.
Face. Yeah, it was like, oh, it was so disgusting. And I remember watching a Robot Chicken skit about it. How where she would like keep walking back and forth because Hannibal would keep asking her to come back and go back forth.
And every time she would get hit.
Yeah, and she would get hit. Ew. And then at the end, Hannibal was like, there's the other door. You could go the other way. It was just like, okay. But once he does throw the bodily fluid at her, Hannibal calls her back because he's like, oh my God, I'm sorry from the inmate. He's super polite about that. Like,
he's almost a gentleman.
Yeah, he's like, that's so rude, you know, that shouldn't have happened to you. And so he finally tells her some clues.
He said, look into my old patient, Mrs. Moffat.
Mm-hmm.
But he said it like some freaky way.
Yeah. And so Clarice was finally able to get at least one clue to follow.
Because he figured out real quick that they just wanted information on Buffalo Bill.
Mm-hmm.
So, Clarice figures out super quick that there is no Mrs. Moffat. That's just another clue.
Mm-hmm. It was an anagram for something else.
Yeah. So it leads her to a storage unit in the city of Baltimore, where Hannibal is originally from. So she goes to the storage unit, and the owner is helping her open the unit, but it's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets a car jack, and she cranks it open as much as she can, which is barely anything.
It was a weird scene where she was trying to get it open. Owner's like, he's super old, so he can't really help her. And she's like, oh, what about your driver? And he's like a younger dude. Mm-hmm. But the owner's like, oh, you know, he doesn't really do anything.
He doesn't like to do anything.
Yeah, he just drives. Mm-hmm. And we're just like, okay, we're kind of like, what was the point of that scene?
Right?
Like, introducing that guy, like, he doesn't play any other role. Like, he doesn't come up any other time. We just found that funny.
So she's like, I'm gonna take care of this myself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was like a woman power moment. Okay, so then Clarice enters the storage. She tells the old man, hey, they know I'm with you, boo. Don't try nothing. Okay, that's not exactly what she says, but she kind of says something like that. So she goes in, and there's a ton of junk everywhere, kind of what you would expect from a storage unit.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really see much because it's so dark, but you do see a vintage car. And she starts approaching it. She slowly opens the door, and the first thing she starts looking at is like a picture album, but it's not really important because they don't really show it. And then you see a mannequin in the passenger seat in the back. It's headless though, so that was immediately creepy. And then she looks over, and you see like a creepy head in a jar,
Well, it was covered at first.
Oh, it was covered.
Mm-hmm. And so yeah, she was like, it's like they were building up tension. So she was like slowly pulling it, and you see like the severed head of a man.
The head looks kind of funny.
It just looked like a prop, you know. Yeah. It's not like the actual.
Well, it was 1990. I'm sure in 1990 it looked really good.
It was creepy, but it wasn't like scary. It was a little comedic with how fake it looked.
Yeah. So after this, Clarice drives back to the prison to talk to Hannibal. She's like, I found the head who is it? Did you kill him? And he says, no, I didn't kill him. That was just a patient of mine. He was a maniac schizophrenic or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how he didn't kill him. He merely just found him dead and then preserved him. He found him dead after he missed a couple therapy appointments. Just like, do all therapists check on you when you miss a couple appointments?
I think you've missed one and it's concerning, especially if you haven't said anything.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it is Hannibal.
I was like,
it's
wow.
in 1990, so.
Hannibal checking out his patient. Shook. Okay, so she talks to him and he kind of starts giving more clues about who that person is and who possibly could be Buffalo Bill. And then right after this, is it after? When is it that the kidnapping happens?
Kidnapping? I think it's after this. Because then she's just still trying to get some information from him. And he's like, well, he kind of gets information from her.
He
like,
said quid pro
quo.
There we go.
Yeah.
We're
so
quid pro
quo.
Quid pro quo.
Quid pro quo.
I will not be able to say that again.
So basically he wants to know more about her. So he asked what was her worst memory, and she said it was her father's death. Because he was like her father was actually a sheriff in their town, and he passed away when he
came busted. Up to two robbers.
Yeah, two robbers. And he shot him.
Yeah. So she's basically he's trying to get details about her personal information, which is specifically what Jack, her boss, in the beginning told her not to do. Like, don't give this man any information because he's gonna get inside your head. But it's Hannibal, and she really wants that information, so she kind of starts telling him a little bit about her. Is that when she tells her about the lambs? No, not yet.
That was later on.
So basically, you just find out that her dad dies, and her mom had already passed away when she was really young. So she's sent to live with her aunt at a farm.
Yeah, her aunt and uncle.
At a farm.
Yeah, at a farm. So Hannibal eventually gives her a little bit more clues on Billy, like kind of his past and why he might be doing this.
And that he kind of thinks he's transgender, but he just hates himself and is not really transgender.
Yeah. And so the scene cuts to the next victim, actually. And you just see a woman who's like having a good time singing in her car, jamming out.
On her way home.
I think she was from the grocery store. Because you see her out coming out of the car with a grocery bag. And while she was walking to her apartment door, she sees a guy struggling to move a couch actually. And he had like one arm in a cast.
He's trying to get it on his van, in his van. And she stares at him and she like double thinks it, like, should I help him? Should I not help him? But he's got the cast on. He looks helpless.
Yeah, he looks old and stuff.
He pulled a Ted Bundy. So he's been watching her, first of all. So she finally decides, okay, I'll help him. He looks harmless. And she starts helping him, and he's like, oh, can you lift it up and get inside the van to get it in?
So he's on the outside pushing the couch, and she's like towards the van helping him pick up the couch to move it inside. So she's like backing up into the van, and then once they get the couch into the van, he asks this one question, are you a size 14? And she's like, yes. And then he just like sucker punches her and knocks her out
straight up. And then you see him
he actually rips her dress.
Blouse.
Yeah.
She has a blouse on. He rips it, and then he checks the tag on it, and then he looks at her back, like the skin of it, and is like appreciating it really weirdly. And then he throws the shirt out and drives off with her.
That's actually part of his MMO, is that he would rip whatever the woman is wearing and throws it out at the scene. think the next scene is when they go. I think they found another body, right? And so they're Jack, the chief, and then Clarice are driving there to like check out the body, you know.
It seems to be it washed up in some small town. So you first enter into a funeral home, and there's just a bunch of sheriffs and cops, and they're all male, of course, and they're all looking at her because she's a female and she's attractive. So that's uncomfortable right off the bat.
And the head sheriff was like, you know, kind of being a dick, like not really wanting her to be here, not talking, like not saying anything.
So
Jack
he kind of played the situation off by being like, oh, let's talk in the other room. We shouldn't talk about this in front of a lady.
Yeah.
Which was a blow in its own.
Because I understand why he's trying to defuse the situation, but it wasn't done well.
He didn't give Clarice her place.
So he and the sheriff walks to a different room to, you know, kind of talk about what they found and everything. And she's kind of like just there in the room with the other bunch of male sheriffs.
And they're all
like,
staring at her.
Yeah, it's like, guys, come on. Like, it's super awkward. And then she sees through, she like places her stuff and kind of wanders around, you know, looking around the area, the room. And she sees a crack in the door. They're having a funeral service. I think this is like, what is that place anyways they went to? Like a church or
it's like a funeral home where they have services in one section and then the morgue is in another section. Because it was a small town they were in.
Yeah. So there was a funeral service going on, and she sees the body laid out, you know, in a coffin with everybody sitting around mourning. And so she sees that, and it goes into a flashback because she's reminding of her father's death when she was at that funeral.
So that happens, and she kind of breaks out of it. And she's called back in, and all the officers are crowded together in a room, and you can see a body in a black bag. And she kind of wants to like get some privacy for the girl, pay some respect. So she says, you know, I appreciate you guys being here. I'm sure her family would appreciate y'all giving us some space and privacy, and to get them to leave. And they were just staring at her like idiots.
She's trying to pull up, you know, the same thing, like trying to be polite, but also stern, like get the fuck out. We're trying to do a.
She had to say it like 3 times, like, come on now. Come on. Until they finally left. I think some of them were like eating.
Yeah, they were eating and drinking coffee, and it's like there's a dead body right in the center.
And they need to like look at it.
And they need to perform the investigation. It's like, also, why is there so many sheriffs?
In such a small town.
In a small town, there was like more than 10 sheriffs in there, and what's going on? We don't need that many.
And it's like they casted them to be like stunt doubles because they all looked very similar.
They look very similar.
Like dark hair and mustaches.
It was kind of funny. So they start getting an investigation done. So it's Clarice, Jack, and I think 2 other morticians there who's doing the review of her body to see what was her death, like what was, if they can get any clues from it. So we see that when they open the bag, it's like, oh my god, it's not a pretty sight. Like, she's stripped, and you can see it goes to a close-up of her nails, like they're broken, like she was trying to scratch her way out of something. And then they go into, I think Clarice does the investigation.
Yeah, she's taking pictures. It almost seems like a test for her because she still is a student.
So she's doing like a tape recorder saying like what's the injuries on the body. And then she goes in a closer look on the mouth. And when they go in a closer look on the mouth, you realize that it is actually a real person that's laying on that. Because the teeth is like, it's super realistic in the mouth and everything. So it was like, oh, it must be really awkward to have to just lie there and not like try and move.
You have to sneeze.
Yeah. So when Clarice was investigating the mouth, she sees something jammed down in the throat. And so one of the morticians gets like a tweezer.
First of all, they try to give her sass and be like, oh, that happens with bodies. You don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, no, there's something down there. Go check.
Yeah. And so they're trying to like getting out. And it's funny because you know it's a real person because they don't shove the squeezer.
It's like right at her mouth.
Yeah, it's like barely. You know it didn't reach the throat, even though they said something.
It didn't reach the dangly, the little dangly thing in the back of her throat.
So you know, yeah, we were like, that's definitely a real person. But once they reach in there, they pull out like a cocoon, and so it's like, ugh. So they cap that up, you know, preserve that to get it investigated.
She goes to a university to see some scientists that are bug scientists. There's probably a proper name.
Probably.
All I can think about is the bug guy from Yu-Gi-Oh! You know who I'm talking about? Weasel, or I think that was his name. I don't remember.
He had like a bowl cut or something.
Yeah, he had wore green.
And his glasses were like huge.
Unrelated, but that's what that reminds me of. Anyway, so she goes there and tries to get them to identify, like, what is it? Can we get a clue about it? Immediately, one of them starts staring at her and, like, just creepy. And she kind of ignores him. And she goes and she's talking to the other guy who's dissecting the bug, trying to figure out what it is.
They cut it open and everything.
Yeah, it was gross. Well, I don't like bugs, so I thought it was gross. And then he's telling her, like, oh, somebody loved this baby. They took care of him. They fed him. They imported him because you can't really find this in the U.S.
Yeah. He said it's really rare here because it's from Asia. So they're like, oh, it must have been really well taken care of for it to come all the way to the U.S. So they got some kind of clue to probably look into, like, whoever is exporting these moths. It was actually a moth. And what was the next scene after they find out about that? Does it
That's
go to
when it
Catherine?
jumps to Catherine.
Yeah, the woman who got kidnapped.
Her name is Catherine.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that.
So it jumps to her, and Buffalo Bill took her somewhere, and he basically threw her down this. It looks almost like a really deep well.
Like an abandoned well, drain.
But it's inside his house, like in the basement. And he's just like, he's really odd. Like when he talks, he barely sounds like he can get the sentence together. And you see there's like mannequins all around him and little outfits, and
there's like a bunch of women's clothing everywhere.
You can see where does it show where he starts making the skin suit?
I think that's afterwards.
So you get a little interaction, and she's trying to convince him to let her go. And
she's begging, like, please let me go.
We'll pay money.
I think we found out that she's a daughter of a senator. She's like, oh, we have money. My mom will pay you. And so she's just trying to get out.
So that happened. He ignores her, of course. And you just get a little insight of him. And he's just a strange fellow. Strange. So then it shoots back to Clarice at the academy, and that's when they're watching the TV and they're seeing the senator talk about her missing daughter, basically making a plea for the kidnapper to return her home. And then it cuts to a scene where it's Clarice offering Hannibal a deal where if he helps them catch Buffalo Bill and Catherine is alive and well, they will transfer him to a different prison with still maximum security, but he'd get a view of the forest, and every once a year he'd be able to walk on this specific island called Plum Island, and he'd be able to go on the beach under heavy SWAT security. When she said that, though, that's when I thought it was weird, because even under heavy SWAT security,
that's dangerous. That's way too risky.
He's crazy.
He's super smart. He's hurt nurses before in that.
Oh right, that's what they warned her about. His heart rate didn't even go up as he ate the nurse's tongue. They thought he was having
they were doing routine health inspection or something, and when the nurse was trying to help him, he
attacked her.
Attacked her face and was eating her face. And throughout all that interaction, his heart rate never went up. It was just steady.
So that's the part where it's starting to seem a little shady, but I'm like, okay, it's a movie from 1990. Am I gonna question it that much? No. So then he takes the deal, of course. What did he tell her? I don't even remember. Oh, she starts telling him more about like how he probably applied to get a sex change operation but was denied because of mental health issues, right?
There was one gentleman, like it shows Hannibal's more gentleman side. It was pouring, and so her hair was like wet and everything. So he gave her like a towel, even though they told her like don't ever take anything that he gives you. She kind of broke all the rules.
Clarice broke all the rules. She got near the glass. She took something from him. Told him personal information about her.
Yeah.
She said F the rules, but she got results.
I mean, yeah. She got results. But yeah, he was telling her more background on Bill. Like why he's doing this, his motivation. His, basically that.
So she starts looking into the hospitals to see who could be impossible.
Right, because 3 hospitals turned him down for the sex change.
So she goes to do her research, right? But when she leaves, Chilton, the head guy of the asylum or whatever it is, has been listening and recording their conversations. And he figures out that the deal is fake. So he contacts the senator to work out an actual deal for Hannibal, but one that benefits himself as well.
Yeah, he throws the FBI kind of under the bus.
Yeah,
hey,
pretty much.
They made a fake deal in your name.
He taunts Hannibal that there was a fake deal, and when Hannibal shooketh and pissed.
Yeah, they were talking to Hannibal. He has him strapped.
Yeah, in the jacket. What is those called? The restraining jacket.
Yeah,
and he's got a muzzle.
It's like that. I'm sure it's all over the internet where he's like iconic. With the muzzle. Yeah, it's iconic with the muzzle, and he's like in a straight jacket and everything. So he's like, telling him like the deal is fake, but we got a new deal. If you talk with the senator and give us the information that we want, then we'll give you an actual like better environment or prison cell, like with the window and everything.
There was no Plum Island though.
There was an island. Yeah. It's like we're not gonna let you walk the beach every once a year or something.
So,
but then it zooms in, and one of the scenes is
that scene where he's taunting him.
With Chilton had a pen on a clipboard, and it zooms in on it. Hannibal's eyeing the pen, and then I think when it turns around, when the conversation ended, you see the pen disappear.
And then, so they leave and they're outside. Hannibal's still restrained, right? And then you see Chilton talking to some officer, and he's asking him to sign papers, and Chilton's like trying to find his pen, but he can't find it. And the officer's like, "Oh, here, you use mine." So that's the moment you realize Chilton left his pen behind. Where's his pen? We don't know. That'll be important later on. So Hannibal talks to the senator. He taunts her a bit about her daughter and like her style. He did compliment her outfit. It was a cute outfit.
He was like, "Oh, nice outfit" or something.
Yeah, after he asked her about like breastfeeding and all these weird questions about her daughter. So he gets the deal. But here's the kicker. He's giving them false information. He
gives them a false name, which later ends up being another anagram that he made up.
For fool's gold, which Clarice ends up figuring out. So she's gonna go see him. At this point, he's not in the same place anymore. He's in a different jail. This one is really weird. It almost looks like...
Was it in a museum?
It was like in a historical building looking thing, yeah.
And they had him like at, I think the highest floor, was it? And he was just in a giant cage.
In the middle of like a gym auditorium.
Yeah, like an auditorium. And you see like 2 guards there guarding him. And his cage, has like a bed and desk and everything.
It's like a nice little office, actually. Yeah. And he's got books and things. Here's the part I don't get. So you see the officers. Wait, no. So then Clarice comes in to visit him. And he's pissed off at first. He's like, you gave me a fake deal. He's upset. And he said, Plum Island, nice touch. And she kind of convinces him to still help her. I'm not saying it's the womanly charm, but like a little bit. He did say they're gonna think we're in love, which I thought was cringy at first. I'm like, no.
But yeah, in return, she had to give him
more personal information.
And this is where she talks about her time after her father's death. She was taken in by her uncle and aunt, and they were on a ranch. And she was talking about how she would hear...
Like, one night she woke up and she heard screams. So she got up to investigate it. And she went outside and she saw that it was the lambs. They were being slaughtered, and their screams sounded pretty horrific to her.
Yeah, it sounded almost like children-like.
Yeah, I think she said that. So she panicked and she grabbed the one lamb she could because she couldn't save them all, and she ran away. Like,
when she opened the gate, they wouldn't move. They're just so traumatized when she tried to save them. So she just grabbed one and ran forward.
So the farmer found her again, like real quick, like the next day, because she didn't get very far. And he was pissed, I guess, that she was trying to free the lambs.
Dude, it's like his livelihood. It's like, it's what we do.
So he sent her away, which I still don't get. I'm like, what? That seems like something minor to send a kid to an orphanage.
So, like, they're supposed to be family, and then he's just like, I'm done with you.
They didn't even all get loose.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. So, anyway, so then what happened?
And it's 1990s, what do you expect?
True that.
So that's her story. Like, she's still haunted by those screams, and that she couldn't save them. That's what haunts her, and that's why I guess it kind of like motivated her to become
an officer.
Like in memory of her dad, and in memory of like just trying to save as many people as she can.
So then Hannibal takes some. Well, I wouldn't say pity, but he's
like, thank you, you gave me something, I'll give you something.
So he starts telling her that all the information she needs is in the case file. To look at the case file.
At this time, she's not supposed to be there. Like, it's only supposed to be officers working for Chilton.
She got taken off the case.
So Chilton came in with the other officers and was dragging her away from Hannibal. Like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. And then Hannibal was able to like at least pass over the files with the clues that she needed.
Didn't he do a little hand touch?
Oh yeah, he like rubbed her, like.
Okay.
Like they were passing the...
I'm Clarice, and you're Hannibal.
Okay.
So this is the papers.
Yeah. So he rubbed his thumb over her index finger, like, central, like...
Ooh. I got goosebumps.
So that's why it's like, oh, they might think we're in love.
Yeah, so he's obviously semi-interested in her.
I think it cuts back to Bill. Or no? So you see Catherine trying to like, she's like, she knows that he's going to kill her. Like, there's no stopping that. So she's trying to get out. And so Bill has this little tiny puppy, toy poodle, yeah, like a white toy poodle. And she tries to lure the poodle with chicken bone because he does try and feed her, make sure she stays alive. Like the minimum. Yeah, very minimum. Another thing about his MO is that he will keep these victim for like
alive for 3 days, but starving them so the skin will be loose.
Yeah, creepy. So she used the chicken bone and she ties it to this bucket that she had. I guess it was for water or something. Yeah. And she was like throwing it over and trying to lure the dog in because she wanted to use the dog as like leverage against him, like, hey, get me out or the dog gets hurt. And so you see her struggling to do that. And then you see Bill, as you said, sewing the flesh suit, the skin suit.
Yeah, in a sewing machine.
Those are like skins from his previous victims. I never got like what he was trying to do. I guess he was trying to be a woman through that.
So basically, Hannibal said he just hated himself because he had a rough upbringing. So he did something that, he said something like, evil is not born, it's created. So basically he had a really rough childhood, so he hated himself. So in his head it meant that he wanted to be a woman, that he was transgender. So in his own twisted way, he was trying to get his own gender, what is it called? Gender reassignment, because the hospitals had denied him already. So he was like, okay, well, I'll take a bunch of women and make
Yeah, he basically took it into his own hands. Like, oh, okay, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, there's actually this one really funny scene where he's naked, but his thing is like tucked in. Thank God.
Oh yeah, that was disturbing.
And he's like in a robe and he's like dancing. It's like this little music.
It's just so weird.
And then he's putting on lipstick and he's like, "Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me so freaking hard." And I'd seen that on like Family Guy before, like made fun of, but I never knew what it was from. But it's from that. And that part was super cringe. But anyways, Catherine's over here trying to get out somehow, trying to make a plan because she knows there's no reasoning with Buffalo Bill. He's nuts.
Mm-hmm. I think it cuts back to Clarice, and she has this friend in the FBI. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I think she's a trainee too.
Mm-hmm. The one other female.
Mm-hmm, the other female. And so her friend's like helping her like decode the case file, like looking for the clue that Hannibal said. I can't remember what the clue. Oh, it was pointing back to the first victim, but she was found third. Like her body was way down in the water, so they found her third, but they discovered she was the first victim by the deterioration, I believe, and by how she went missing first.
So they figured out that the pattern of where they found the women was too random. So random that it wasn't a coincidence. She basically figured out that it was like a madman's way of trying to be clever or subtle. I don't know. But they figured out that basically Buffalo Bill knew his first victim personally. He didn't know the rest. The rest were random. He just picked them by eyeing their size. But the first one he knew. So Clarice started taking a closer look at that victim and went to her hometown to ask around and look at her home. So she goes to this girl's home and she starts noticing that she's a tailor too. And she notices some unfinished dresses and stuff. And she starts asking around about her, and they tell her about this woman that she used to work for as a tailor. Mm-hmm. So Clarice heads on her way to go question that woman.
At the same time, Jack is leading the FBI team. They thought that they found the guy because they traced the export of moth to this specific guy, and I forgot where though.
It somehow fit Hannibal's clue.
Yeah, so they were heading in like a completely different direction and going after that guy. And Jack just told Clarice, like, oh, we got him, you don't have to worry about it. But she's like, oh, I want to continue the investigation, like, just to see where this leads. Mm-hmm. And so it's pretty, I like how they cut this, is like, they both get to the house.
They're both like knock at the door on the door at the same time.
And you see, and so this switches back to Billy and Catherine. And Catherine was able to finally lure the dog into the well because you hear the dog yelping and whimpering, and Billy's like, what the hell is going on? And you see Catherine with the dog, and she's like, give me the phone, give me your phone so I can call help, otherwise the dog gets it. Yeah.
Wait, let's reenact with what. So this is the dog. She's like, the dog gets it, mister.
Yeah. Yeah, she told him like, oh, he already broke a leg falling in. It's like, you could get hurt more. And then Billy's like pissed off. He's like, give me back the dog, give me back the dog. And he's just like, he's pissed off. He's done with her. He's like, he goes to get the gun, to shoot her. But then you hear the doorbell. And so you see both Jack's men and Clarice knocking on two different doors. Mm-hmm. And then when Billy opens his door, you see Clarice.
Yeah.
And then Jack's team finds an empty house. Mm-hmm. That was a pretty cool cut. I like that.
In 1990, I would have been shook.
Yep.
So she starts asking her. Wait, Clarice starts asking Bill about, like, where is this woman? Where can I find her? And basically, I think it was her house before, and he killed her. That's kind of the vibe I got.
Could be, yeah. He didn't really go into much about it. He was just like, oh, the story he gives is that, oh, she passed away because she was an old lady. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, she passed away and I just, bought the house. I don't really know anything, stuff like that. It's like, oh, I'm aware of the crime that happened, like the kidnapping that happened, but I don't know because I just, moved in and stuff.
So she's like, oh, well, can I come in for some questions or whatever? Can I use your phone? Because she's suspicious of him right off the bat. So she walks inside and she's kind of noticing that things are a mess. But the thing that gives it away is she saw some bug. I'm not sure if it was a whole moth or a moth part.
It was a picture of that
moth
because it was huge. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like a real moth.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a picture of that specific moth.
And that's how she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And he could tell. And there was tension in this room, but they're both trying to pretend like it's normal. But he's just going to go get his gun.
She pulls the gun out first. Yeah. She's like, freeze, don't move. And he's like, ah ha ha. He is loud. And he's like, whatever. And he gets his gun.
So then he starts running down to the basement area.
Mm-hmm.
And she follows him. And he's hiding all of a sudden. And Clarice sees Catherine. And Catherine's like, get me out of here. Get me out of here. She's like freaking out. I mean, obviously with
like, I understand her, but she's like calling Clarice a female dog. And like kissing her out. And it's like, okay, can you like...
Clarice is like, I'm trying to take care of this
I'm trying to help you. There's still a killer running around. Can't like it's hard. Like she's in the well. Like how is she supposed to like save her? And so like...
So then the lights shut off because Buffalo Bill turned them off.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got some night vision goggles. And I was like, were these readily available in 1990? And I know I say 1990 a lot. It's just, I feel like that movie was made 30 years ago and it's still so good. It's still pretty good. So it was 1990 and there was night vision goggles that he just had out of nowhere. Yeah. So he starts like looking for her, but when he clicks his gun to shoot her,
so he was kind of like, he saw her and he's just kind of stalking her, like being weird, like, like reaching out,
that's
like
her, that's
kind of like almost petting her.
Yeah, like that's his prey.
Mm-hmm.
So he cocks his gun, she hears it and shoots in that direction, and she hits him.
She's like unloading her gun into him.
That's true.
Like, I understand she's like super like scared. She's out of her mind. She's not an agent. This is her first time out in the field. She's like just unloading her gun. You see like the flash from her gun unloading.
Mm-hmm.
And he falls back, and I think he gets caught on like a curtain that reveals the light from a window.
Mm-hmm.
And you just see him like so many gunshot wounds and dying.
He's dead. Yeah,
very much dead.
So she saves Catherine, and then it cuts off. Oh wait, we skipped the giant part.
Which part?
What happened after Clarice left?
Oh my god, I can't believe we missed that part. That was like, that was also like one of the best.
Okay. Do you want to do this?
Yeah.
Okay. So, before Clarice even goes into that town, like right after she leaves, this is an interesting part. So,
it was after Hannibal. Is it after she finds out where to go?
After the hand touch.
Okay.
After the hand touch. We got so like distracted by the hand touch. Okay. So Hannibal's back in his little office cell, and two officers come in to feed him. And what are they feeding him? Like decent looking food, right?
He ordered lamb. Remember?
Yeah.
After the story she told, and he ordered it rare. The officer made a comment. It's like, really, we're serving him rare lamb.
Here's the part I don't get. It's okay, so the way the officers feed him basically is like they cuff him, right?
Yeah, so they're like, oh, you know the drill, Hannibal, get back, sit down and have your hands behind your back. So they cuff him with his arm behind the back to the cage before they enter. And then they go in with the tray of food with one guard outside with the door. And Hannibal's just like, oh, they have the tray, and Hannibal's like, oh, be careful of my drawings, because it's like all over the desk and everything. And the officer was actually nice about it and was moving the drawings away to put the tray down. And that's when you see
Hannibal
with the pen, Chilton's pen, and he used it to free himself from the handcuffs. And he beats the crap out of the officers.
Both of them, just like massacres them, basically. Like, it's bloody, it is gross.
He beats up the first officer with the tray.
Did he bite him? One of them?
Yeah, I forget which one though.
Well, he bit one of them.
He bites one.
Like,
he bites the first one who brought in the food tray, and he's just like going at him, like, and you see him come up with like blood all over his face, and then he attacks the other officer with the first officer's baton. Yeah, he's pretty vicious.
My question is though, like, who came up with this procedure? Like, couldn't they just have like something that just slid?
Yeah, I don't understand why. Yeah, you don't. Why just slide it onto the floor? So yeah, I don't know, just being polite or something. Just like slide it onto the floor and close the door.
This was a faulty design.
Yeah, I just don't understand the whole.
Especially if you know how he is.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, so he attacks them viciously, and that doesn't set off any alarms or anything, but they start getting suspicious, the officers below, because their officers aren't answering.
Yeah, there's a lot of officers on the first floor in the lobby. Like, there's a bunch. The chief, the head honcho, was like calling in, and while he's calling in, they noticed the elevator going down, and it's not supposed to. The officers aren't, their shift isn't over, so that causes like concern.
They immediately all pull out their guns, and they open the elevator, and it's empty. So they go up to check what's up with Hannibal, and the lights are off, and you see one of the officers is like strung up on the cell, and his like intestines are just hanging out.
Yeah, it was gruesome.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it was really macabre.
It looked pretty good for 1990.
Yeah, for 1990.
Take a shot every time I say 1990.
Like, it looked. The props look actually pretty well.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So that officer is gone, unfortunately.
He's definitely dead. And then you see the other on the floor.
And he's just drenched in blood. His face is all messed up. And they're like, that's Officer so-and-so. He's been on the force for like over 10, 20 years. Get him help.
And they're like, because they feel like Brad, he's like still breathing. You see him like doing bubble, like whatever. They tell that, oh my God, he's still breathing. He's still alive. Get the ambulance and everything. And so they're like, searching for Hannibal, yelling into the radio. It's like, oh, we gotta surround the area, cut up the, roadblocks and everything. Like, we need to find him. And while they were getting into the elevators, check out the other floors, they see blood dripping down from the ceiling.
And that's when they figure out that he must be on the ceiling of the elevator, like the roof on top. So they get out of the elevator and they make a move. And they all shoot, but nothing happens, right?
So they see a body on the elevator ceiling, and they don't want to go down there because they already saw what he's capable of. They don't want to go near him. So they see him, and one officer saying he's not moving. They're like, shoot him to make sure he's not moving.
I mean, that's smart.
But also, well, damn, okay.
Dude, so you saw the intestines.
Yeah. I can understand why. So they shoot him like once in the leg to see if he's moving or not, and he doesn't move. He's not conscious. They're like, okay. And so the people in the elevator open the ceiling tile, and out pops the officer with his face gone. It's like skinned off.
And he's wearing Hannibal's outfit, right?
I think so. Yeah, because Hannibal. So you find out that it was Hannibal with the skinned officer's face in the ambulance.
Because then it cuts off to him in the ambulance attacking the paramedics.
Yeah, poor paramedics.
I know.
It's like, we're just doing our job. Like, come on.
It's so unnecessary. I mean, the whole thing is unnecessary. Yeah. But anyways, he was wearing the officer's face the entire time.
Yeah, and they were like, the officers are just like, oh my God, call the ambulance. It's like, that's whatever the officer's name.
It was too late. Hannibal escaped. So now we're back to Clarice.
Back to Clarice, and now we're killing them.
She's graduating from the FBI Academy, full-fledged agent. She's a badass. She caught Buffalo Bill. She gets a phone call from Hannibal. Do you remember what he said? I only remember the last thing he said to her.
I don't remember the exact words.
Basically just taunting her about...
Kind of like, he's like... He told her, like, hey, don't look for me, nothing good will come out of this. I gave you what you wanted, so,
we're even.
Good. And she's just like, I can't do that. I gotta bring you in. He's just like, she's like, where are you? And he's like, oh, no, I can't tell you that, but I'm meeting with an old friend.
No, she says, he says specifically,
or having dinner.
I'm having an old friend for dinner.
Oh, yeah. And you see Chilton walking off from the airplane and Hannibal just stalking him.
And that's how that movie ends.
Yep. He hangs up and Clarice just like, Hannibal, and like yelling into the phone. Was like, woman, he hung up. And you just see at the end Hannibal stalking Chilton wherever they are. And that's how the movie ends.
That's the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do this. There's 3 movies in total.
Yeah, but I heard, like, you told me that.
I've seen the second one, and it's not as good. It is very mind freaky.
They changed the actress.
They changed the actress. So the actress in this movie is Jodie Foster, and she's really good. The other actress, I don't remember her name. She's not bad, but it's just Jodie Foster did such a badass job in this movie that it's hard to replace her.
And whenever you change an actress or like an actor, it just like kind of throws you off.
Yeah, and
it doesn't focus on Hannibal, right?
I can't say. There's spoilers. What if we decide to cover it? But yeah, it's all right. It's not bad. It's okay.
Yeah, we might do the rest.
We might.
Yeah, maybe make it a Halloween tradition.
So we're kind of liking this new format where we're just kind of chatting about the movie or story to each other.
Like, we'll still do true crime.
Of course.
But more like maybe telling each other.
Yeah, like
talking
to a friend instead of telling you a story.
Just straight telling you a story, yeah.
Because we just like this better.
It flows better.
Yeah,
instead of us having to like memorize every single detail. This way we're just like, oh, what do you think about
just
this?
Casual, like our regular day-to-day conversations
about crime and killers and stuff. So
we hope you guys enjoyed the movie story, the hot pot.
Theme.
Well, army stew. I keep calling this hot pot.
We didn't really have a reason on why we picked our Korean army stew for Halloween. We just really love it.
We really wanted some. Yeah, it's kind of red.
So delicious.
We had our bowls for
we had the themes going on.
So we hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you want to give us a like or follow,
or comment,
that'd be cool.
See you guys next time.
Bye. Happy Halloween.